On the night of August 8, 1969, actress Sharon Tate was at her home in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles. She was 8 months pregnant, and spending the evening with close friends. But that night turned into one of the most horrifying events in Hollywood history. In the early hours of August 9th, members of the Manson family broke into the house. What followed was a brutal and senseless massacre. Sharon Tate and 4 others were murdered in cold blood. Despite her pleas for the life of her unborn child, there was no mercy. By morning, the scene was a nightmare no one could believe.
It's not my world. I don't live in that world. Well, so you didn't care? Care? Suppose technically, what does that mean, care? Well, it means law. That means some sense. Put me in a solitary confinement, break my teeth out, break my ribs, bust me up, kick me down a hole, and then come back and tell me about care. I don't know what care is, man.
What's truly eerie, however, is what the sky revealed that year. In Sharon Tate's solar return chart for the year of her death, the sun was positioned in the first house, the house of identity, physical presence, and life force. In astrology, the sun in the first house often symbolizes visibility and vitality, but in tragic contexts, it can also foreshadow a moment when the self is not only fully exposed but marked for destruction, even death at the hands of others. Could the heavens have foreseen that she would be taken so violently? On the night of April 14, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln was watching a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., but that night was far from ordinary. A sudden gunshot rang out, the theater erupted in screams, and Lincoln collapsed, bleeding from a gunshot wound to the head. He was quickly carried across the street to a small boarding house, known as the Peterson House, where doctors did everything they could to save him. But his pulse grew weaker and weaker. Finally, 6 hours later, Lincoln quietly passed away. What's truly astonishing, however, is that this tragedy may have already been written in the stars. That very year, Saturn was positioned in the first house of Lincoln's astrological chart, a placement often associated with hardship, restriction, and even death. On the afternoon of July 20, 1973, martial arts icon Bruce Lee visited the apartment of actress Betty Ting Pei in Hong Kong. The two were close, perhaps closer than many knew. After some time together, Bruce complained of a headache. Betty gave him a simple painkiller, and he lay down to rest. But something went wrong. Hours later, he was found unresponsive. No injury, no warning, just silence. He was pronounced dead that evening. The cause? Cerebral edema, they said. But whispers of poison, betrayal, and conspiracy have followed ever since. What's truly disturbing, however, is what the sky revealed that year. In Bruce Lee's solar return chart for the year of his death, Saturn, the planet of restriction and fatal consequences, was positioned in the first house. In astrology, this placement can symbolize physical weakness, isolation, or in tragic cases a life taken not by fate, but by another's hand. Was Bruce Lee's death a sudden tragedy or a destiny coldly etched in the stars? On August 11, 2014, beloved actor and comedian Robin Williams was found dead in his California home. Known for his brilliant wit and boundless energy on screen, he had long struggled in silence. Years of battling alcoholism, combined with deepening depression and an early diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, had taken a heavy toll. That morning, he took his own life, a shocking end for a man who brought joy to millions, while quietly carrying so much pain.
Larry. It's always there.
What's haunting is what the sky revealed that year. In his solar return chart, the sun was in the 8th house, the house of death and inner darkness. In astrology, this placement can point to deep emotional battles and, in tragic cases, a turn towards self-destruction. The stars, it seems, reflected the weight he could no longer bear. On November 30th, 2013, actor Paul Walker died in a fiery car crash in California. Known for his role in Fast and Furious, the irony of his death in a high-speed accident stunned the world. But in his solar return chart that year, the sun was positioned in the 6th house, the house of daily routines. In astrology, the sun in the 6th house can signal sudden physical breakdowns or fatal accidents. For a man who lived fast and died suddenly behind the wheel, the alignment feels chillingly precise. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, and one of the most influential visionaries of the modern era, died after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. For years, he fought the illness in private, undergoing surgeries and alternative treatments while continuing to innovate. His death marked the end of a chapter in global technology, the quiet fall of a giant who had changed the world.
It's complicated.
In his solar return chart that year, the ascendant was in the 8th house, the house of death, transformation, and hidden suffering. A subtle, yet powerful signature of a life preparing to let go. On April 15, 1990, legendary actress Greta Garbo passed away in New York City. Known for her beauty, mystique, and refusal to live in the public eye, she had faded from fame decades earlier, choosing silence over stardom. In her final years, she battled pneumonia and kidney failure, her decline hidden from the world just as she had lived, quietly and alone. In her solar return chart that year, several planets were clustered in the 8th house, the domain of death, decline, and what lies beneath the surface. In astrology, a stellium in the 8th house often reflects a slow fading of life, marked by solitude and a quiet struggle against illness. On March 31, 1993, Brandon Lee, actor and son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, was fatally shot on the set of The Crow. What was supposed to be a routine scene turned into a real-life tragedy when a prop gun misfired and struck him in the abdomen. He was rushed into emergency surgery, where doctors fought to save his life for 9 long hours. But by evening, Brandon was gone. In his solar return chart that year, Mars was positioned in the 8th house, the house of death, trauma, and transformation. Mars, the planet of violence and blood, in this placement often signals fatal injuries and drawn-out physical battles. His chart spoke not only of a sudden, violent accident but of a life slowly dimming in a sterile room, as time and hope quietly slipped away. On October 31, 1993, River Phoenix collapsed outside the Viper Room nightclub in Los Angeles. Just 23 years old, he was one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars, talented, beloved, and already iconic. That night, after a lethal mix of heroin and cocaine, he fell to the ground on the sidewalk, convulsing in front of his brother Joaquin and a crowd of stunned onlookers. Moments later, his heart stopped. He was pronounced dead in the early hours of the morning. It was sudden, tragic in public.
Had a pretty good life, but very kind of random at times and exciting.
You must get over here, please. You must get over here, please.
Okay, take it easy, okay?
Okay, no, I think he has volume or something. I don't know.
In his solar return chart that year, the sun was in the 6th house, while Saturn lingered in the 12th, a pattern often linked to hidden suffering and bodily collapse. In astrology, this combination can signal an abrupt physical breakdown brought on by inner struggles and addiction, pointing to a life that burned too brightly and vanished far too soon. On October 28, 2023, Matthew Perry was found unresponsive in the hot tub of his Los Angeles home. Known to the world as Chandler Bing from Friends, he had also become a voice for those battling addiction, having publicly shared his long struggle with substance abuse and depression. Though he had shown signs of recovery in recent years, his sudden death shocked fans
There are
around the
certain
world.
lines in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that made me more aware.
In his solar return chart that year, a stellium of planets gathered in the 12th house, the house of secrets, isolation, and hidden suffering. In astrology, such a concentration often reflects inner turmoil kept beneath the surface, and fates sealed away from public view. His chart, like his life, held deep battles the world could only glimpse. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found unconscious in the bathtub of a Beverly Hills hotel. Just hours before, she had been seen laughing and mingling at a pre-Grammy party. But behind the glamour was a long struggle with addiction, depression, and a fading voice that once shook the world. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but it was too late. She was gone. In her solar return chart that year, both the sun and a stellium of planets were placed in the 12th house, the house of isolation, hidden sorrow, and self-undoing. In astrology, this placement often speaks to battles fought in silence, and endings that come behind closed doors. Her final moments, like much of her later life, were shrouded in mystery and heartbreak.